Hello and welcome to the How to Exit podcast. Today I'm here with Matt Remuzzi. Matt is a longtime entrepreneur who has started, bought, and sold or brokered businesses for the last 22 years. He has owned online businesses, a restaurant, a business brokerage, and now for the last 10 years, a bookkeeping accounting firm. During this time, he's worked with thousands of small business owners, optimizing their business and achieving successful exits. I like to start off with the origin story. I like to joke around and say, "Man, you were born and now you're here." Kind of, how did you end up on my show? Could you fill up the gap in between? So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something, I've wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was a little kid, right? I always was the kid that was imagining, oh, I could start a t-shirt business. I could start a, delivery business. The first job I ever had was doing a paper route. And that was, I had to go door to door and collect. And if I didn't collect, I didn't get paid. So even there, I was kind of running my own business. And it was something I always wanted to get into, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was, like most entrepreneurs, right? There was a certain amount of fear. What if I fail? If I burn through a lot of money and it's going to be embarrassing and whatever. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I went to college, still didn't know what I wanted to do, got into restaurant management. And finally I said, look, it's now or never. I'm not getting any younger. Even though I was only in my 20s, I could already see like I could fall into this pattern, do this for 40 years, retire and live with regret, right? I didn't want to do that. So still not knowing what I wanted to do, I went to the MBA program here in San Diego and they had an entrepreneurship track. And I thought, man, this is where I'm going to figure stuff out. Went to school, made a ton of great contacts, learned a lot about writing business plans and financials and all that kind of stuff. But by the time I got out, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I took a job at a company that was doing consulting for small businesses. And this was right at the dot-com boom bust time, right at 2000. And that company had the company I worked for took some financial backing and it didn't work out and I got laid off. And I thought, well, I know how to do this consulting thing. I've been doing it for 6 months. Maybe I could just do consulting on my own till I go get another real job. Right. And that was in 2000. And that's the last time I took a paycheck from anybody but myself. I got hooked on the idea of being my own boss. I'd always wanted to do it, but now I finally had sort of a pathway. So I started doing consulting. And then I got, this was the height of online businesses. So I started taking what I knew as a consultant as a service charged by the hour or project basis. And I said, how can I turn this into a product? And then I decided, as much as this business was doing well, it was taking too much of my time and too much of my mental energy. So I decided, let me see if I can sell it. And I looked at broker options and I thought, no, let me try and sell this thing myself. Let me see how that goes. And was able to successfully sell it, had a very nice exit, paid off that SBA loan so I could sleep again at night, had a nice war chest set aside. And I thought, okay, I like this acquisition game. Where do I go from here? And I thought, light bulb. What I could do is I could be a business broker and then I'll get first look at all these deals and I'll buy my next deal before anyone else even knows it's on the market. So I got my real estate broker's license, which you need in California to broker businesses, and started looking at deals and selling deals. And I ended up selling 36 businesses over the next 4 years. Sellers need to understand is the way a buyer mitigates their risk is by reducing the offer. Right? I don't know how well this is going to do. So I can only pay you a limited amount. If you came to me with clean books and clear evidence that this business was profitable at this level consistently and growing over time and had cash management under control, I'm happy to pay a higher price because I have much more confidence that I'll get the same results when I take over ownership. But to the extent that I don't have a clear picture of that and faith in what you're telling me, I'm going to mitigate that risk by either walking away or reducing my offer to a level where I feel like, okay, at this price, I can take that risk on. And if I discover problems, I will still have paid a fair price. But I think a lot of people that get into the I want to buy a business game focus on the money, right? Okay, well, I make 150K a year, so I got to buy something that after debt service can still pay me 150K a year. And that they're looking at that number and ignoring all the other factors that go into that being a successful business.
what do you see? Now, I know kind of what I'm looking for, and I know what a lot of other buyers ask for. But when you sit down with a business owner, what do you help them prepare first?
Well, I mean, the basis of everything, right, is the financial statements. We've got to have an accurate P&L that reflects the correct top line revenue, the cost of goods sold, the expenses, and depending on how the business runs, generally it'll be on accrual basis. Sometimes some businesses operate fine on cash basis, but those numbers have to be accurate and they have to be month by month. We don't just sometimes you some people still go to their CPA, right? And the CPA just throws together a year-end summary. Well, great, you made $1 million this year, but it makes a big difference to me. Was that $80,000 a month, or was that 10 months of nothing, and then you sell Christmas trees, right? And you make all $1 million in 4 or 5 weeks, and then it's back to zero. That's a huge important question, right? So me seeing just a summary number for the year is no help. Or what if in January last year you were at 150K a year or a month, and now you're at $50,000 a month because the business is going off a cliff? Telling me you made $1 million this year, that alone doesn't help, right? So we want to get it lined up by month. Hopefully what we're seeing is revenue is growing. Hopefully what we're seeing is cost of goods sold and other inputs as a percent of revenue is staying fairly flat, right? Revenue's not going up by 50%, but costs are going up by 100% or something, and profits going down. So getting that together, seeing what that picture looks like is kind of step one. So I think there's a natural tendency in life, right, to just accumulate stuff, especially as Americans, right? We get stuff. We have space, so we get stuff, and it doesn't really help. It does the opposite. It just adds extra work and time, and I got to figure that out and think about this thing. So I'm all about keep it simple, right? If there's not a good reason to add, then don't add. Right? Make sure that the ad makes sense, and you're going to get more value out of it than whatever headache it's going to cause you, whether that's opening a bank account or launching another division or opening a second office or whatever it is, right? Make sure that it makes sense and that it pays for itself and it justifies its existence. Otherwise, don't add it. Generally speaking, and I can speak from personal experience having felt the same thing, the closer you get to the deal going through, the more nervous oh gosh, did I miss something? Am I overlooking something? Do I really want to take, like, my life right now is pretty good. I'm going to suddenly take on this huge amount of additional responsibilities, and I got to get this thing up and running and going, or smooth out. I got to learn all these new things. The buyer, you get kind of that panic attack feeling of, oh my God, maybe I just cancel it, right? I don't know. So you have to take that into account as the seller, as the buyer, as the intermediary, knowing, people are having these thoughts, they're having these concerns. Sometimes the sellers, they get to the point where they get checked out. Oh God, I'm not going to own this thing in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to worry about fixing that. I'm not going to deal with this guy. That guy's always been a jerk. I'm just going to fire him because, it's not going to be my problem in a week anyway. They start to have that sort of the senioritis, right? They're already 1 foot out the door, and you got to make sure they don't do any damage before you take over.